I hate to break the fishing news up, Yaremchuk, but I'd like to speak about the ice hockey.
Congratulations, you're one of the 13 listeners of the Real Life Podcast.
We just traded a migraine in for like an orgasm.
Might want to mark that down, Yaremchuk.
Yep. All of my projects are on schedule until they're not.
A member of the Nation Network of Podcasts.
About as funny as we're going to get today.
Episode 207 of the Real Life Podcast. I'm Tyler Yaremchuk, joined as always by Bagged Milk, Jay at the Squire is where you find him, and Wanye. Before I get to you, Wanye, because I know you're itching to get to talking about your new passion project, I need to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by Japa Machinery. Their passion is bringing big machinery to you. Whatever you need, Japa's got it. Check them out online, japamachinery.com. We now throw to who I'm going to call the most successful insect pornography photographer.
Yeah, this is my new thing. This is what my new thing is I like. So I come back to the palatial estates of Wanye Manor, and I approach the majestic door, and there are two flies having sex on my doorknob.
And based on the photo, they're really getting it, too.
And I'm like, gross. Like, it's right where I need to put my thumb to get it access to the door, like a knob. And so I shooed these fucking things, and they moved over like 1 inch onto the door jamb and continued sexing. And because I didn't think you guys believed me, I took a photo of it and I sent it to the group. Did everybody agree that those flies are having sex?
Mrs. Fly's really getting it, in my opinion.
Yeah, something's happening there, and I think it's sexually related.
That is disgusting. In this day and age that I have to witness this carnage. Bag Milk, can you put that on Instagram so everyone can see the flies having sex?
I'm going to flip it around so it looks better here.
I need to reorient.
Understand that they're vertically doing it too, because there ain't no vert that a fly can't handle.
I just posted it on our Real Life Instagram story, so the people listening to this can go take a peek.
I assume this is why D-Cards on Apple Podcasts gave us a 5-star review on the 21st of August, saying the guys are 7 out of 5 stars. The content is 3 out of 5 stars.
So that's 10 out of 10 if you add the two together.
It is. That's a working average.
So what I'm getting from that is he doesn't really want to hear about flies having sex, but if he has to, he wants to hear about it from us.
Listen, flies having sex could be the highlight of someone's day listening to this show.
Could be the highlight of 2020, frankly.
Yeah, it could, I guess. Isn't that a day?
It's a positive circumstance, so yeah, could be.
As an Amish prude, Yaremchuk, are you offended by the sex talk?
It shows me that nature is healing.
Oh, wow, deep.
Yeah.
On Saturday, Operator Rich gave a Real Life Podcast a 5-star review. He says, "Gents, this is my favorite pod. First one I listened to. Entertaining, topical, genuine, and nothing gets me chuckling like Bag Milk's laugh. The pod where you guys dumped on the oil for that horrific series against Chicago was very cathartic. Keep the gambling talk going. Feel free to read aloud." From Operator Rich. That came in on Saturday, Tyler.
Okay,
very excited.
But did he say that was the first podcast he's listened to?
I wonder if he means this is the first one in his
That's what I inferred.
Routine.
This was his first podcast he started listening to.
Okay.
No,
there's also a podcast.
I read it as, and by read I mean listen to it as, it's the first one he listens to, meaning like if he's got 5 podcasts to crush this week, we're number 1.
That's how I took it as well.
Okay.
We need some clarification from Operator Rich. So maybe drop in another 5-star review and leave it the clarification. I'll read that one too.
I have a review here. It's 1 star from a Tyler Y. And it says, "Really stupid show, always goes off the rails. That Yaremchuk is such a stud." 1 star.
That's a good review, I think.
Care to comment on who this could potentially be reviewing this podcast?
Yeah, no comment. As I'll do what Marc-Andre Fleury did and just say I declined to comment on whether or not I know if that was being posted.
It is bizarre that you have to tell your agent to take a tweet down in this day and age. That's so 2020.
Yeah.
Tyler, if somebody doesn't know what we're talking about, please give us a run through.
So Allan Walsh used to be I believe he was a defense attorney in Los Angeles, and now he's an NHL agent, and he's been a very good one for quite some time, so he's not scared of anything. But Allan Walsh tweeted a photo, or it was an illustration of Marc-Andre Fleury being stabbed through the back with a giant sword. And on the sword, it says DeBoer, as in Pete DeBoer, the Golden Knights head coach. Fleury's agent clearly mad that Robin Lehner has been getting all of the starts since being acquired at the trade deadline and wanted to send a message to the Golden Knights. Seems weird. Fleury came out, declined to comment on whether he knew that the tweet was being sent out originally or not, but did come out and say he told Walsh to delete it. He has since deleted it. Robin Lehner said he thought the whole thing was funny. So,
fun fact, Allan Walsh is ranked number 18 on Puckpedia's agent list for active contracts. He also represents Max Pacioretty.
Interesting.
Really? So here's the thing. You could clearly tell that this guy was mad, because to get an illustration like that made in such detail shows
No. I think that's
shows
a
some
filter. I think that's a
premeditation. What do you mean it's a filter?
It's like a photo filter that you take a photo and then you like apply the filter and it looks like a drawing, and someone just photoshopped a sword.
Oh, jeez. Old man yells at cloud over here. Sorry. My bad. I thought
he commissioned an oil painter?
I thought he commissioned this.
Well, if he did, I'll tell you what, that is some quality rage.
Either way, he had to get this made.
That's how a gentleman does it, is you commission an oil painting. And you're like, in 90 days, my revenge will be served beautifully.
I was just going to say, that's the pettiness that I really enjoy. If he commissioned an oil painting.
An artist made some money from this, and I get joy from that.
Let me ask you this.
That's the
Let me
positive.
ask you this question. Everybody has to answer this because it's a good question. Jay, if you were randomly assigned a good NHL player, so let's pick a guy random, Max Pacioretty, could you negotiate his contract for him based on what you know in life? If he came to you randomly and was like, Jay, be my agent for my next contract, do you think you could get fair value?
Well, yes.
Interesting.
How couldn't you?
I don't know. Maybe a GM wouldn't take you seriously. They'd be like, get the fuck out of here. It's like Entourage stuff with the movie people.
But they'll take Max Pacioretty seriously, so then therefore they have to take me serious.
Well, I don't know. Bag milk, do you think you could negotiate a contract at fair value? Or would you
if I'm trying to get a fringe NHLer some money?
No, I'm saying like a quality
different
guy.
story.
You're not trying to get Peter Worrell his 100-goal bonus. Like,
well, that's good negotiating.
Yeah, well, fair enough. If you don't ask, you don't get. But do you think you could? I bet you it's harder than you think.
I think that I would be a willing combatant. But if I think about my time as a sales rep before I started at work at the Nation, I would be like, hey, do you want to buy this thing? And they would be like, no. And I'd be like, all right, sir, have a good day. So I just imagine myself being a very poor negotiator. And my client would be very upset with the low rate that I got him. I would be like, Max Pacioretty wants $10 million. They'll be like, no, $2 million. And I say, all right, that's a good deal. I'll see you guys later. Let's go have lunch.
I think it's actually quite hard. Like right now, Jay and I, we're like trying to negotiate this thing, right? Like we have no idea what precedents are, market values, and like you have to do a lot of research and stuff. And I had a very brief conversation with a really expensive consultant who does this type of transaction. And like when he and I were talking about like what are things worth, blah, 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 him telling me what he thought just off the top of his head made me completely rethink things. And I bet you there's players that go to agents and they're like, I think I'm worth this. And they're like, are you crazy? Get with me and I'll get you another $1.4 million a year. And they're like, for real?
I wonder if too, I'm looking at a guy like Drew Doughty, who negotiated his own contract.
I was just going to bring him up. He's ranked number 48 on the agent list.
Is he really?
His contract's so big.
Yeah,
he's number 48?
Yeah, he negotiated for himself. He did it for himself, an 8-year, $88 million contract. So he saved himself 10% on that deal as well from the agent fee. So Drew Doughty did all right for himself.
Is that what they make, 10%, Jay?
I don't think it's 10.
I'm sure each agent is a little bit different too.
Is the top agents all the top players, or is there somebody who represents a lot of like $5 million people but clean up in volume?
There's Pat Brisson deals like the big names, because I think he also leverages like the brand stuff. Yeah. Like if you can bring brand deals to the table, I'm sure there's way more of a rip on that than there is from just your hockey.
So according to Sports Illustrated, the average NHL agent makes somewhere between 3 and 6%, depending on who it is and the client, etc.
How many is there in that list, Jay? 50 on Puckpedia?
Oh, it goes all the way down to, I've got to 127.
Wow.
I bet you it's not just about business acumen. Like, remember when Master P represented Ricky Williams and negotiated that horrible deal?
Yeah, all performance-based.
But Master P is a good businessman.
I think a big part
clearly
of it,
not.
Well, he just isn't an agent. I think it's not general business. I think it's like a specific skill. I don't know that I could get fair value for an NHL player. I think a GM would punk me and get, $700,000 less a year because I wasn't strong enough telling him to go fuck himself like R.E. Gold.
That's exactly where I'd
love to know how heated the conversations get.
I bet you it's insane.
Or are they at a pub having a couple of old fashions, discussing some business and some numbers, and it's a lot more casual than perhaps we imagine?
I think we're the average hockey fan, or whatever the four of us are here, like stepping into that world. Where we'd probably really get bent over is just in our like general knowledge of the CBA. Whereas like a good agent would go to a team and be like, hey, my client wants $7 million. They might come back and be like, listen, that would work this year, but in years 3 and 4, like there's just no way. And the agent might come back and say, you know what? How about we attach this bonus? We move this salary to this year. We put this much of a signing bonus on it then, so my client's guaranteed more money in case of a lockout. Like all of the shit they can kind of add in by knowing the back channels of the CBA. That's where a good agent probably gets you the most value.
We had Cam Lewis print off the CBA once upon a time, and it is quite the document.
For real?
Yeah, it is. It's a thick boy. A couple of C's on there.
How many pages is it? I know Gregor says he's read it, but I could never sit down and read it.
Nonsense.
What?
He has not.
I would say it's a phone book. It's hundreds of pages.
Gregor has had it in his hand. Gregor's probably read 80 pages of it. Gregor has not read the entire document.
All right, if you're ready to guess, I've got the number. How many pages do you think the CBA is?
326.
469.
I'll say 299.
560.
Holy
I win.
shit.
Price is right.
There's no way, Greg. I'm calling shenanigans on Gregor saying he read
He's
that.
not read the entire CBA. I guarantee it. He's read more than you'd think, but he hasn't read the entire thing.
That I'll buy. I just remember when Cam brought it into the office. This is when we were still, remember, in that shared space downtown?
Oh, yeah.
He brought it into the office, and I remember thumbing through it, and it is painfully dry.
And
it's exactly.
It's not going to be a
super
Harlequin novel.
Ooh,
that would have been nice though. But it was very lawyery. I remember, and I would just remember thinking, I was like, I would need a dictionary to read through any of this.
one of the things that lawyers do that annoy the shit out of me, and there's many, is when they tell you to read your contract. As though I'm a lawyer and have A, the attention span, or B, the inclination. Like, no, you read my contract.
I know they always want to pass the buck, but I'm like,
well, you read it. I'm like, whoa, fuck yeah. You're here, so I don't need to know what the fuck is going on.
Isn't that the service you provide?
Yeah. I was going to say, isn't that what you get paid for, is to read the contract?
Well, and if your agent showed up was like, all right, Mr. Eberle, I'm going to need you to start by reading the CBA before we can sign your contract with Long Island, I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, no, it's not going to
happen. You know what? I would misrepresent Max Pacioretty. I'm sorry. I got a little too excited there. I was thinking more so along the lines of my fantasy football trade negotiations, but those will not translate to...
Well, who knows? Maybe it's to the point now with software where they can just dump in your metrics with all these new stats and salary and give you a very tight range. I know they give a binder of comparable data, right?
Oh, yeah.
And when they present that, the agencies don't actually do the work themselves. They have like companies that do it for a package price. And it's like $7,000 to put together your contract comparable. It's kind of like a realtor does. If that's the case and you get like a $400,000 band, you can probably get fair value.
Or maybe you walk into an office big dick swinging and you've just got like, you walk in there because you're the sizzle, but then you've also got like your hype man in there that knows the CBA. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
you go in there like a tag team.
Yeah. See, my problem, I would not negotiate well against like Brian Burke because he'd like yell and I'd be like, oh no, and I'd go and hide under the table, right? Like there's a lot of personality. I bet you they scream at each other all the time. Like, you fucking call me back with that offer, Phil, or I'll come down there and kick your dick over the moon.
I bet you it gets really heated when a player is an actual free agent, like a UFA, and he has like his agent's got to talk to like 4 GMs and the GM's trying to play everyone off of each other. And the GM goes, well, I've got another team in your division willing to pay me, my client, $5 million a year, and you're only paying $4 million. And the GM is probably like, no, you're fucking not, you piece of shit. I bet you that's
And
when it
there's
gets
so
really
many
heated.
trades throughout the year that make sense on paper that GMs would never do because they hate each other and they have beef from 5 years ago.
Oh, it'd be amazing to know what like some of the ultimate bluff calls have been in contract negotiations.
They should
That'd be
make
cool to
shows about this shit and then release it 10 years after it is recorded.
Like oil change.
But like later on, where all the statute of limitations is worn off, where you're not like, what's Thomas Vanek being offered? Like, who cares in 2020? It'd be really cool, though, to see the psychology behind the negotiation. I bet you a guy like Slats has just destroyed agents over the years.
Yeah, I bet you Slats would have some good stories.
Like, what's Mike Krushelinski want in the 4th year? Get out of here. And then he smokes a cigar all cool.
It would be fun. Like, what actually happened that year with Ryan Smith at the trade deadline? Like, all of that.
Well, or also the one that I just came to mind. I don't know if you guys remember, but this was in the summer of 2008. Simpler times then. The Toronto Maple Leafs signed a 27-year-old Jeff Finger to a 4-year, $14 million contract. But after a little bit of digging, it was suspected that they actually picked up the wrong guy. What? They signed the wrong player to a 4-year contract.
What do you mean?
Well, word on the street is, and I'm pulling up a Sportsnet article here. Fletcher, who was the interim GM, if I remember correctly.
Cliff Fletcher?
That's right. Was signing guys, and he was championing Finger's seemingly untapped shutdown ability. However, with a little research, it was more likely that Kurt Sauer was the player that Leafs intended to sign. Finger barely played for the Leafs and ended up finishing in the AHL.
So he's sitting there one day on his couch. Maybe he's wearing a bathrobe. Maybe there's a pandemic and you can't see what he's wearing on the podcast. And $16 million unsolicited free agent offer arrives?
Yeah, basically, that's what this is implying, yes. You're just kind of like thinking, I'm going to make $2 million or whatever, and all of a sudden, 60 or 14 racks show up, and you're just like, all right, well.
That'd be a great jersey to get.
A Jeff Finger
jersey?
Team, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're like, why do you have a Finger jersey? You're like, I like what he stands for. Random money coming your way.
Absolutely. But law of attraction shit right there.
If that is
Jeff
true.
Finger, Kurt Sauer. Wow.
Finger 69?
That'd be a great jersey. But can you imagine?
What was his number?
I'm not sure. Probably like 4. He was a shutdown D-man. Like the day before free agency, he's talking to his agent, and his agent's like, listen, man, I'm going to try get you a 2-year deal. Going to try make it around $2 million a season. Like, it's going to be tough, though. Not a huge market. And the next day, his agent calls, like, all right, long-term deal, huge money, Toronto. Like, what?
Tyler, did you Google this? Because he was number 4.
Oh, really?
He was number 4 for the Leafs. Yeah, so I'm looking at his stats now. Basically in total, in aggregate, over 2008, 2009, 2009, 2010, he basically played about a year and a quarter with the Leafs before finishing off that 4-year deal.
But how
in
can
the
it be?
NHL.
Like a clerical error? Like he sent a contract to the wrong human being?
Well, there's that joke too. Like it just kind of fits perfectly with that joke where everyone thought when Peter Chiarelli traded Taylor Hall that he actually thought he was getting Ekman-Larsson and not Adam Larsson.
Speaking of Ekman-Larsson, he might be wanting out of Arizona.
Yeah.
Why do you say that? What have I missed?
Because I've seen some things.
It's been thrown around a little bit. Apparently, Elliotte Friedman mentioned it. I don't think it was in the 31 Thoughts. No, it wasn't a written 31 Thoughts, actually. I should pull that up quickly. But he basically said, keep an eye on Ekman-Larsson's future in Arizona. It's fascinating from an Oilers perspective. 1, because the Coyotes are still in their division for 1 more year. 2, whenever a star player is rumored to be on the move. But also, Ekman-Larsson has a long history with Dave Tippett. And I don't know, like, if the Oilers were to shake things up, he has a huge contract, $8.25 million. Like, it would take a lot for the Oilers to find a way to afford that. But fuck, that would be a fascinating trade.
Fascinating. Indeed. Fascinating. Ekman-Larsson is legit.
He would definitely add a different layer to the Oilers' back end that they just don't have.
Well, he would finally be your number 1 defenseman.
There's another trade target on Arizona that I really like, and it's between the pipes. Antti Ranta, I think, is...
I'd take a run at him, too.
Original Puzar was the one
sexually? What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm. I would both on the team and if I happen to run into him at a bar.
You know I love my Finns.
Well, I suppose.
when it comes to like, there's two players I really like, and if 2020 has taught us anything, as the folks on Big Brother would say, expect the unexpected. But maybe there's some huge deal to be made between Edmonton and Arizona. I think Arizona wouldn't mind, like Chris Russell is the guy who I could see going there just because he has a small salary but a high cap hit, and Arizona always likes saving money. They have the 3 goalies, so they could potentially be moving one. If Ekman-Larsson's legitimately, or potentially on the move here, I wonder what a big package would look like to get both Ranta and Ekman-Larsson.
What's Ranta's salary?
4.25 is the cap hit.
So we're taking on 12 schmillies.
So you would Russell has to be included. So then you're down to
James
about
Neal would have to be included.
Who? James
Or they
Neal?
would want like Nuge or something.
Never.
What if it was Nurse? So if you traded Nurse and Russell for in that package as the big salary pieces, that gets you up to 9.6 already of the 12.5 million. So that you're really only adding 3 mil. Maybe you throw in like an Athanasiou at that point just to get the deal done, and you probably have to add in like your first round pick next year too. And probably
Who do we get back in this scenario?
And you probably have to throw in a first in there. Probably, I would say a high-end prospect or another high pick. Just to like make the value
back to us?
Ekman-Larsson and
Ranta's
Ranta.
old, isn't he?
He's 30.
Ranta's 30. Okay.
That works.
Yeah, no, for goalie years, that's okay.
So, Nurse, Russell, Athanasiou, and 2 first-rounders.
Oh, no, what?
Would
Two
you-
first
would-
rounders?
Would you
No,
do
you
it?
can't. No, that's too
Graham
much.
Chuck, I'm a
I
very good agent. I once got Max Petrietti top value. I would never take that deal.
I don't think
If
that's
you're-
enough
if
to
you're-
get Ekman-Larsson.
If you're doing 2 first rounders, they got to be taking on. Well, they're a cap team too, so they can't just be taking on a ton of salary.
2 first
The
rounders.
salaries would almost wash when you consider, and Arizona, for them, they'd be getting less money because of the Russell thing. But you'd be getting Athanasiou, Nurse, and Russell, which pretty much equals Ranta and Ekman-Larsson. And value-wise, I still don't think that's even close. So the first-round picks are because you're getting Ekman-Larsson.
Oh, but you're giving them Nurse in this situation, right?
But you're getting Ekman-Larsson.
Yeah, I know. So
And
that's what I'm
you're
saying.
getting the
2
contract
first and
certainty.
Nurse.
I don't know if my value is way off. Like, for the people listening, I did not think about this before I started talking. So I just kind of threw that together as like a rough ballpark of what I think it might be.
I think
I love everybody on the Oilers D. The only guys I wouldn't even consider trading would be Bear and Broberg.
And Clem
Everybody
Clark.
else, I would listen to offers.
Really?
No, paying that guy $4 million like that.
Oh, that's true. How many more years?
3?
Oh, never mind. He's off the table.
That's the only thing Chiarelli ever did good for us was sign
Yeah.
that deal.
Well, no, and the Connor contract and the Leon contract.
Yeah, those were great.
Those were good contracts. Chiarelli signed some good deals.
Are you kidding me? Connor dictated the terms of his contract. Chiarelli had no fucking dice.
No, I give
I was gonna
credit.
say-
I give credit to Chiarelli for
and-
not playing hardball and like trying to get him lower. Chiarelli didn't fuck that up, and he deserves credit for it. Because if that was a 5-year deal for
But
McDavid,
I
he'd be
bet-
Yeah,
shit.
if it was a 5-year deal, he fucked it up. He got maximum term.
No.
He gets high.
Connor is from the Sidney Crosby dojo, and it's about his legacy. So he would have said, "KP, I will not take max, and I will do 8 years, but it has to be for $100 million, so I could be that guy." God damn. And Pete's just like, "Thank God, Connor." And then Leon, in hindsight, at the time, everyone was pissed off that he signed him for 8.5. So in hindsight,
Well,
it
nobody
looks really-
knew that Leon is Leon.
Peter did.
Fuck.
Yeah,
Nobody knew.
I would also argue that Leon was not Leon yet.
He was not.
Yeah. So, anyways, 2 first rounders. I don't. Oh, that's too much.
But you're getting
One.
a goalie and a top pairing defenseman. And a goalie who has like a 920-some save percentage over the last couple seasons.
But he's not their number 1 goalie.
He was for
He's
a stretch. He
31.
just kept getting hurt.
Yeah, and he's injury prone.
Blech. How about this for a question? If you could bring back 2, not including any 80s Oilers, modern day only.
Like currently playing.
Like modern day. So 1996 to present. If you could bring back 2 former Oilers to slot into this lineup, or just any of them, who would you bring back as a goalie?
Curtis Joseph?
Yeah.
Amen. Or possibly Bill Ranford, but he was
Yeah.
Or Dwayne Rollison.
Yeah, but Rolly...
Rolly
Yeah.
wasn't that hot in the reggie.
Yeah.
I like the Cujo pick personally.
Well, Cujo's number one.
The two players.
What about a D-man? Who would you bring back from... No Pronger, obviously.
Roman Hammerlick.
Really?
Oh!
What about a young Eric Brewer?
I would...
Ooh, yeah.
He loved ripping his wrist shots from the point, didn't he?
What about peak Tom Pody hockey?
No.
Oh, really? You don't like Tom Pody?
Then we got to worry about the allergies again.
Yeah.
What's the story behind that? I've never gotten the full story of the Tom Pody allergy thing.
Tom Pody had allergies?
He's allergic to everything.
Yeah, he's basically allergic to everything. And
Really?
like, long story short, he had to have a very, very specific diet.
Yeah, like chicken, like white rice. But now everybody just eats like that. At the time, they're like, Tom Pody can't have a fucking
like Tom. This right now is Tom Pody's time to shine. They're living in a bubble.
Yeah,
he would have just been killing it.
He's begging.
I think I would also. I would
your-
also be having fun in the bubble. I think it just reminds me of an extended Hinton Edson minor league hockey trip.
It does.
Imagine Pete Smitty playing on Connor's line.
You know what? Smitty would park himself in front of the net, and Connor would be able to bank shots in off his face.
I'd want Bill Guerin on Connor's line.
Oh, power forward. I like that. I'd go Dougie Wade, I think.
Oh, I love Dougie Wade.
Can you imagine Dougie Wade on a third line for this Oilers team? Like, come on.
Oh, Doug Wade would be on our second line. We would move Draisaitl up, and it would be like the Doug Wade, Yamamoto.
Imagine you could do a line with Taylor Hall and Jason Arnott on the same line, Pete.
What kind of line?
Do I have to edit?
Imagine they both had Corvettes and mullets, and they were in a show together with their detectives.
Now, are people buying into this freaking Oilers should sign Hall?
Man, there are Hall fans who will say, and like, you cannot look at this Oilers team and be like, you know what Edmonton needs more than a third-line center, a better defenseman, and a starting goaltender? They need another expensive winger. Like, how can you jump to that conclusion? If you can find the money to sign $7 million in free agency, you do not go sign an expensive winger. You either go get an expensive goalie if that's the jump you want to take, or you go get a third-line center and a decent goalie, and that's how you spend your free agency money. You don't blow it on a winger who's not going to fix this team's issues. Their issues aren't getting scoring out of the top six. That's not the problem here.
I think he goes to Calgary personally, and then we're gonna have to check in on Travis Dakin to make sure that he's okay.
It's gonna be bloody Hall and Chucky versus Connor and Leon.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of rumors in Calgary and Taylor Hall, I got a buddy who's a Habs fan. He loves sending me trade rumors. He sent me this one. He goes, Johnny Gaudreau to Montreal for Domi, Ryan Poehling, and a first-round pick. And apparently Max Domi's now removed the Montreal from all his social media bios.
I love that. I love that when players do that. It's such a funny thing, but I also love even more.
His agent's probably telling him to do that.
Absolutely.
Is he contract? Is he a free agent?
RFA.
He's an RFA. I love that people notice that shit, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, how often are you checking Max Domi's Twitter?
I will look at who people, like players that I enjoy stalking. I will look at who they follow. I'm like, interesting. I should follow that as well. Connor follows some interesting people. He follows members of Drake's OVO entourage that you'd only follow if you'd met them, which makes me wonder if Connor and Drake have hung out. The answer is probably in my head.
Well, I would guess yes.
The photo never hit the internet, which I respect so much.
No, there was no cameras allowed probably at that event.
Because Connor's such a G about it, and Drake doesn't even make a photo with him.
Yep.
I
probably,
bet you.
Oh, you know what I bet he had? I bet Drake had him over to the crib.
I bet you.
That giant place he's got out in Toronto, that's where Connor met him. They were hanging out
interesting in that
shit.
breakdown of Connor's house in Avenue Magazine? Has anybody seen that?
Yep. I've seen it, yeah.
It's interesting how Lauren's like, oh, Connor doesn't like having hockey stuff up. Because, like, I wonder if the Sidney Crosby archetype doesn't like having mementos around. Because they, like, look at the photo of themselves scoring the goal and get stressed out about where their feet were on the play. Like,
no, I think it's a thing where when you're at home, you almost want to have that as an escape, right? Where, like, you...
But some guys, their houses are a shrine to themselves. If you look at, like, guys even on Zoom and whatnot, in their offices, it's their jerseys and all their memorabilia and shit. And then there's guys like Connor that don't want any of it. The second question I wonder is, if Connor doesn't have it up in his house, where is all his shit?
I think up in the house might be one thing, but you don't think Connor McDavid has like a little room or like an office that has like a little area?
Yeah, it's in Newmarket, Ontario.
I was going to say, I bet it's all in his parents' house.
Yeah, I could see that.
In the basement of his parents' house, guaranteed.
That's funny, though, because it means he's not an egomaniac, right? Like, Drake's house has giant photos of Drake. Right?
Drake also
That's
has
great.
a sweet fucking memorabilia room in his place, right? He has that hallway where it's all the jerseys like athletes have given him. That's so sick.
Gangster. And then a full fucking basketball court. And he has like 20 NBAers over to play basketball. He just sits there and watches.
Can you imagine that being your life?
I'm looking at this Avenue expose, if you will, on Connor's place. Hell of a wine cellar he's got here.
Oh, yeah.
I posted that TikTok that was up of like the outside of McDavid's house and all of that, and the inside and the pictures on the magazine, and I had people getting so pissed at me.
Why?
For revealing where he lives?
They were like, his address is there. You really think he wants that? Like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, hey, first of all, if you really wanted to figure out where in Edmonton Connor McDavid lived because you're that much of a stalker, you could find
yes
it out.
and no, right? At the same time, don't promote anything that has his address in it. Yes, you could figure it out, but the average fuck. Have you ever heard the story of Pop Smoke, the rapper?
No. The late Pop Smoke, right? He's dead.
He was Instagram living himself getting shoes that he ordered. And in the video, they could freeze frame and see his address, and they went to his house and robbed him.
Damn.
Now, you don't want that shit in Edmonton. It's a lot less dangerous, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I wouldn't do anything promoting any sort of security breach for Connor.
I think what you're saying, you're suggesting, Wanye, is that we post up in front of Connor's house like some kind of militia to make sure that nothing ever happens.
I have a motorized fleet of drones I can weaponize in an instant. If you make a move on Connor's residence, you'll be liquefied.
What about the horse force?
Horse force is definitely in play here.
Imagine that, You run for office for mayor and promise as part of your campaign you'd keep horse force around Connor's house 24 hours a day.
Yeah. I think that'll get you some votes.
It'd get you some media attention for sure.
Keep Connor safe. Everybody else is running on like an actual platform.
Can you imagine if you ran for mayor and your whole platform is just Oilers related shit?
I would force them to get a better goalie as the mayor.
I would organize many outdoor watch parties, like all that shit.
Veto trade. Mm-hmm. Yeah, protecting the people.
You would make
that would be funny if they're like, "Oh man, if the mayor of Edmonton doesn't stop interfering with the Oilers again."
No. This mayor's doing a great job.
Yeah. Oilers mayor refuses to allow Blackhawks jet in airspace.
I'm thinking from a perspective. I'm thinking of the perspective of like, you make it so like the season opener is like a city holiday and like people don't have to work.
Yeah.
You do stuff like that.
Connor's birthday.
Also another holiday. Opposite hotel.
You make like the city would have a flag, right? There's city flags. I'd make the city flag just orange and blue. Many things you could do. How did we get on this topic?
What are you talking
horse force.
We went horse force. We went McDavid's house. We went people getting mad at me on Twitter. We were talking about Drake, who people
follow. You should
follow.
probably talk about Japa.
We were talking about free agents, I believe.
Yeah, we were talking about trade rumors. I think Johnny Gaudreau's played his last game in Calgary.
Oh yeah, he has done it twice. The Magic Man. He has disappeared in the playoffs 2 years in a row.
I think they're going to get hosed on the trade too, and it's going to make me happy.
What about Japa?
Yeah,
Japa never gets hosed on a trade, and they've got excellent pens.
And you never get hosed when you go to Japa because they're local, they're proud to be local, and they're proud to help local companies. So you're always getting a fair deal. You're always getting excellent service. You're always getting an excellent product as well. Follow them online, Japa Machinery on Instagram and Twitter. We usually tag them in our posts too. So if you're listening to this and you don't follow the Real Life Podcast, you should probably be following the Real Life Podcast. Today I posted a picture of two flies having sex that Wanye took. Follow us.
Yeah, thanks. Now our account's going to get suspended, you heathen.
Yeah, you can't show nature?
Not safe for work, man.
Yeah.
At Nation Real Life on Twitter, and we are at Nation Real Life on Instagram as well.
We get suspended for being a fan page. Now you think you can push the envelope with flies having sex?
You should have captured those flies and made them an OnlyFans account.
Oh my word. OnlyFans is changing the game.
It really is.
I don't mean from a pervert perspective. I mean from an economy perspective. It is very strange. Now like mainstream people are going on to OnlyFans and not doing nudity and just giving their fans behind the scenes access on their life for $20 a month. And people no nudes. And people are like, yep.
I thought it was only a porn thing.
Nope, it's expanding.
If you wanted to be
the game, bro.
We apologize to that one guy.
$20 a month? Would you pay $20 a month to see professionally shot behind the scenes footage of Connor McDavid? I would.
I wouldn't. I bet he's boring.
No, if not, if you had a guy making the content.
No. I
Josh
think
Park.
Shut up!
Hey,
don't say that. We're not
don't
losing Josh Park.
No, he's ours.
don't give any ideas, Josh. I hope you're not listening.
Josh Park, you do not want to work for Connor McDavid's OnlyFans. You work with us.
Yeah, our only fan. What?
Take your M-Chuck. Just kidding, your M-Chuck.
McDavid would be like, wow, why do you hate me so much? Because I'd just be...
I'd be like, I don't hate him. He hates us. Between you and Josh Park. Fuck, we are like an NHL team. We have the two number ones.
I bet you McDavid, like I said, publicly, he just kind of puts up his shield, but I guarantee you he's a beauty. You just gotta really, there's many layers to get through to get to that.
Oh,
but it's
Here's what I think. I think that Connor McDavid is 1,000% a beauty. However, he is so in tune with what's going on that if there's a camera in the room, he ain't the Connor McDavid I want to party with.
No, it's got to be at Drake's house.
That's what I'm saying.
Roman or Abramovich's yacht, because he's got like this weird flash technology on it where you cannot take photos on the deck of the boat, and you can't take photos of the boat from further away because shit flashes when a camera tries to go off, and it ruins all the photos.
Cool. That's fuck you money at its finest. That's cool as shit, man.
Imagine that. You're sitting there in your office signing all your checks, Jay, and you're like, what's this bill for? And they're like, you're anti-paparazzi shit on your yacht? Pay it with the petty cash, you yell in a Russian accent while you own the Chelsea Football Club.
Speaking of Russian accents, but more so speaking of accents, this week's Oodle Noodle charity partner is bilingual, so I spoke French.
No way.
So we'll see how it comes off.
Jesus Christ!
Oh, it's been a minute. I'll tell you that.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that Oodle Noodle partnership for the week?
Yeah, we are partnered up with La Conexión. La Conexional, which is a Afro-Latina kind of community movement that does things from community engagement, events. They host a market. They do a bunch of stuff in the community. Ivan Tuco is the guy that we did the video with, who is a crazy, talented, young, emerging leader in our community. So Oodle Noodle's partnered up with them. We shot a video on Friday that should be launching any minute now.
Is this your dancing movie?
So Ivan also is part of his community engagement stuff that he does. He hosts these like dancing workout classes at like the Ledge Ground. So like 100 people will show up, and so like Soca dance. And I had as part of this video, he told me I had to dance with him. So I'll look horrific trying to speak French, but I tried. And I'm an advanced beginner dancer. I'm very good at beginner moves, and so you're gonna see this. You're gonna see that I'm horrific because this is more of an advanced dance.
Now, as 3/5 of the Oodle Noodle marketing team is on this podcast, the meme division, me and Bagmilk, want to know if we're allowed to meme stuff like you riding on the horse.
Of course.
Because we thought it looked like when Putin was riding a horse shirtless.
Yeah, if you pop that tarp off, your poop's up there.
And if you're going to be dancing, you're kind of like Boris Yeltsin when he's dancing. And we're just wondering if it's okay to make like Soviet Oodle Noodle memes that are still about deep fried wontons, or if you'd be like touchy to it.
No, it's all about having fun.
If you meme yourself, you are legendary. Drake makes it knowing he'll be memed.
Yeah, legendary is right. Yes,
I like that.
I think it's funny if you superimpose the tarpless me.
Oh yeah, like who else
horse.
has been memed riding a horse next to Putin for a noodle restaurant?
Yeah,
nobody's doing that.
It's an interesting angle, but it might work.
It's like the 7th layer of Inception. You're like 8th degree self-referencing.
We were on a roll there with our usual real life nonsense, but I need to play my role here. And I need to.
That was an Oodle Noodle ad, your M-Truck, what we were just doing.
I know. I'm fully aware of that. I'm saying, like, in general, the first, 35 minutes of this podcast, we've bounced around to a lot of areas. We talked about horse force again. But as we do on Mondays.
Horse force. Oh, yeah.
We need to bring in our friend Scott Hastings. So I think I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Now. We got to talk some betting. And we were supposed to do that a few minutes ago. but we pushed it a little because I liked the way the nonsense was going. And I texted
Horse for it. All right, well, I'm going to drop off because I don't gamble.
All right. I texted Scott Hastings. I said, hey, man, can we push this a little bit? And he said, that's all good because I'm watching the over hit in the Bucks versus Magic game that's going on right now. And I said,
oh, my Lord, I'm out of here.
I said, that's great because I'm also watching the Bucks and Magic game right now on my screen. And I had Bucks minus 10.5 points. So my Bucks bet hit. Scott Hastings bet hit as well. We bring him in now. Scott, had a good afternoon, I see.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. And yeah, a little sweat there at the end, but Kyle Korver ices the over with 30 seconds to go. It's a good start.
I love betting on basketball. I'm like, in hockey, I'm a bit of a D-gen, but I'm a D-gen and I pick my winners, I do my shot props and all that. Basketball, I cannot watch a basketball game without betting on the quarter. Half the time, I won't even do research. I'll just be like, man, I want to watch this game. I need something to cheer for. Over 54.5 points in this quarter. And then I love it.
My coworker, Joe Glant, is big on the first to 20 points. And he's been just taking the underdog every single time. And I think he went 4 for 4 at one point last week. Just take the underdog. Oh, they're plus 170. Sure, they can get to 20. Why not? And then it hits. I'm like, hell yeah, go for it.
We're going to get into hockey in a second here, but now we're on the roll of basketball. I saw a thing, it was last year, the year before that, about a guy who he basically was finding the best times to bet on NBA teams. Because when the line is live and you can live bet, there's usually a point where the underdog will go on a big run. And if you find a way to read some teams where the underdog goes on a big run and you go, okay, well, it's because, Giannis hasn't been in the game for 15 minutes and they're probably going to put him back in. It's actually a sport where you can find some edges pretty quickly and quite often.
Yeah, and I find that you'll see it a lot around commercial breaks, especially in college. College, you'll see them go on the run for like the 20-minute mark to the 6-minute or to the 6 minutes and 14-minute mark. Then there'll be a commercial break. Then you'll see a bit of a shift. But the reason they'll do that is because, like, a lot of times that's when people are betting is on the commercial break. Oh, shit, Duke just went on a run. I'm going to go on Texas Tech to tighten this back up or whatever. Or I'm going to continue hammering Duke. And then it flips the other way. So it's very interesting that you will see those runs. And I find it happens a lot with commercial breaks.
Yeah, it's interesting the timing on that. Second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs is getting going now. I want to touch a little bit on all the series, but the one that's getting a lot of talk today, at least, was Vancouver versus Vegas. Vegas kind of blows them out of the water there in game one. Do you expect that to kind of continue through the rest of the series? To me, it looked like men against boys for a lot of that hockey game.
Oh, yeah. I think Vancouver, although I took them over the Blues and they got me that big win, I think they're hitting the wall. I think they're hitting where they were. I think they were a good team. They're a young team. This is just sort of where they are. And, Vegas is rolling. I don't get it. They just keep doing it every year that they're competitive. They're a scrappy team. They got some heavy hitters there with Ryan Reeves and the like, and they're just a well put together team. They like playing with each other, it seems, and geez, they're tough.
They belittled the Canucks last night.
Big time.
That's going to be tough to recover from. Like, I'm trying to, I didn't touch that series because I just didn't know what, if destiny was on the side of the Canucks, but Vegas, I should have put some money on them for the cup here is what I should have done.
Well, right now, Scott, Vegas is like massive favorites for the cup, aren't they?
Yeah, they're plus 245, which is not worth wagering at this point. 2.5 to 1 for a Stanley Cup win. It's so hard to win the 16 games, so. I guess at this point it's 7 for them, but is that math right?
No, 11 more. Wrong. They need 11 more wins.
Yeah, that's right. Math is hard here. We just want over 200. We want over 225 points in the Bucks game. That's all we want for the over. But yeah, no, 2.5 to 1 at this point is just it's not worth my time. I think there's better value out there. Tampa Bay dropping down to 8 to 1 now after dropping game one. That's definitely an in-game play. Dallas 6.5 to 1 after Colorado lost Grubauer. And he's not suiting up for game two, so that's an interesting one as well.
Dallas is also 3.5 to 1 to win the Western Conference, which might be interesting as well if they can get past Colorado. I know Vegas is going to be difficult, but if they get a little momentum off their win against Colorado, that's a team that I actually really like. I love Colorado, but without Grubauer, without Eric Johnson as well, Dallas becomes pretty interesting here.
Yeah. Dallas Vegas. That's a fun series, isn't it? That's going to feel like a throwback sort of series where you're not going to have a lot of run and gun. It's going to be gritty. It's going to be fun. You know, adding in Pavelski and players like that is just, it's filthy. Dallas. They were just one of those teams that this year they sort of felt like they were just flying under the radar, just doing their own thing. And you saw them in the playoff picture, and you're like, oh yeah, that sort of makes sense. Sort of. Wait, what? Wait, how is Dallas doing this well? And here they are. It would not surprise me to win the Western Conference.
Well, they figured out how to score.
Yeah.
And now because even though they had all the firepower to do so, but now it's clicking.
Yeah.
They've got all the pieces.
Yeah, and Khudobin looks really good too.
Which is, wow, that's a story.
Looking at the playoffs here kind of as a whole and the teams that are left, these 8 teams that are left, has there been any sort of consistency with one team when it comes to the over-under or maybe some first period performances? Like, have there been any trends that have sort of continued to sustain themselves here throughout the playoffs?
Yeah, I dug 2 up for you that I think you'll like. First one's going to be the Islanders and the under in the first period. So there has been a goal scored in 7 of their 9 games, but only 2 of those were multi-goal first periods. So the under is 7 and 9, or 7 and 2, 7 of 9 in the first period for the Islanders games, which shouldn't come so much of a surprise. It's the Islanders, but that's coming in at about minus 110, minus 105 if you're betting the first period under because it's set at goal and a half. You could also, by that math, you could go with the Islanders 1-0 after the first period, and it's about plus 350. In many of these games, they've scored in 5 of 9 first period games, and then, like I say, only 2 of the 9 had multi goals. So that's an interesting one. And Vancouver, our favorite Canucks here. I love this one. Second period, there's been at least 1 goal scored in all 11 of their games. 9 of those had 2 or more goals. So over is 9 and 2 for Vancouver in the second period. Not necessarily for Vancouver, but in Vancouver games. So that line's probably going to be a goal and a half, and you just take the over. It's going to be minus 110, minus 120. Even Vegas, they scored 3 goals in the second period there in game 1. So, so the over in the Vancouver second period and the under in the Islanders first period.
Interesting.
It's a lot of numbers, sorry.
Wow, yeah. Bag Milk, you listening? This is your type of world.
Yeah. So, Scott, I'm the rookie bettor on the podcast.
Perfect.
Slash most avid bettor now.
Yo, I'm going full DGen. I'm all over the place. But like for a rookie bettor like myself, what do you see as like kind of like the entry points for somebody who's just getting into some hockey betting, whether that's, period goals or what are we looking at?
Yeah, I think if you're starting out, money line is just your easiest. Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? That's just a good starting off point. I have a few friends that are new into betting as well. And then I strongly recommend doing research. I get betting with your heart. Sometimes I do that. And sometimes you just have a gut feeling, but looking at numbers and stuff always can give you a little bit of an edge. I build a couple of algorithms. Like I do a lot of average line and where the line is for that game. So, for example, let's say Toronto is minus 160 on average at home, but they're coming in at minus 145. Well, that means they're a 14-point or a 15-point edge that they're undervalued by. So I sort of work on where should they be valued and where are they valued for the game. And a lot of times you'll see that where a line just doesn't look right. You'll get there like there was a prime example. I believe it was in November. I believe the Oilers were on a great winning streak. They were going into LA against the Kings, who had lost 3 or 4 straight, and yet they were only like minus 120 to win. That line seems fishy. Either stay away from it or take the underdog because there's something going on there. And sure enough, I believe LA won that game like 2-1.
Oilers fans know that when they're on a winning streak and they play a bad team, more often than not, they find a way to lose that hockey game.
Yeah.
We break streaks, both good and bad.
Yeah. We see the line where, Edmonton play in LA. The line for Edmonton should be minus 180, guaranteed. So if you see certain that's like minus 130 or something, it just doesn't look right. Personally, I usually see that and I just stay away because I'm like, it just there's something going on there. Maybe the books know that. Is there an injury? Was there a little bit of a flu bug? Were they out partying the night before? These things are real, and oftentimes books what we do.
Interesting. I got one more for you here. I don't know if either of the other guys do, but I'll throw mine out there. One of the debates that came up as Vancouver was suddenly the only Canadian team left in the playoffs was you have a handful of people who love to send out the Vancouver is now Canada's team. You have another handful of people who love to do the whole, no, they're not. Canadian team, fans of Canadian teams don't want to cheer for the other ones. Stop with that nonsense. Where do you come out on that? Is Vancouver now Canada's team? Should we all be behind them? Or are you, because you're a Leafs fan, or are you like, man, no, if it's not the Leafs, I don't want to see anyone win?
Yeah, there's a bit of I'd love to see the Cup come north, but it's sort of baloney to a certain extent because I believe the Blues last year had something like 12 or 13 Canadians on the team, whereas some of the Canadian teams have more Euros or Americans. So the Cup is actually here more often on certain American teams. So in that case, it doesn't really. I want to see the best team win. Sort of. I want to see a good story. Maybe I look back at was it 2012 with the Kings in New Jersey. They were the 2 8 seeds battling in the Stanley Cup Finals when the Kings made that huge run when they got. I'm blanking on the coach Sutter. Daryl Sutter came in. They went from dead last to winning the cup. So that's a great story. I'll cheer for that all day. If Vancouver won it all, cool. It's the first Canadian team in, what's that, 17 years? 93?
Been a while. That's 27 years. Yeah, 27 years.
27. Holy cow. Yeah, so it'd be good to see, but no, I don't really care.
All right, Scott, this was an education as always. Appreciate your time. Thanks, man.
There you go. Keep it up, guys.
There you go.
Thanks, Scott.
Scott Hastings from OddsShark joining us on the Real Life Podcast. OddsShark, that's odds, and then another S for shark. It's your sports information site. Scott mentioned, make sure you're doing your research when you're getting into betting. OddsShark is the best place to do that. Compare lines, get game notes, get stats. It's all done in a nice layout as well. Check them out, oddshark.com. Are either of you, like Zach Lang put out a thing saying he's now cheering for the Vancouver Canucks. I'm not.
The thing that bothers me about the Canucks is they're fun to watch.
Yeah.
That annoys me.
They weren't last night, but yes.
That annoys me. So, no, I'm not cheering for the Canucks. I'm not cheering for anybody. You know what's nice? And Rick said this actually, Tyler, on Oilers Nation Radio on Friday. It's just kind of nice to watch hockey because I enjoy the sport as opposed to necessarily cheering for anybody outside of my bets, of course.
Yeah.
So I had a long run of bets yesterday, and I did pretty well for myself.
Did you? What kind of bets were you making? Like on what type of bets?
The only thing I lost yesterday is I had Brock Besser at over 2.5 shots, and he did not hit it. But I bet on Kucherov getting over 2.5. He hit 8. I bet on let me see here. I bet on the Bruins, whenever that was. I bet on Vegas last night, so I did all right for myself.
The shot props are still my favorite.
Shot props are fun.
Good.
I do like shot props too because it's you're cheering either for something or against something, and I'm also I like the live bet goal totals as well.
If you can get a feel on a game, you can live bet the goal totals I did that in the Colorado-Dallas game 1. As soon as I saw Grubauer go down, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a little on some goals being scored here, and it hit.
Yeah, so I had the under in that one at 8.5 or whatever, and then just the fucking wheels fell off. And it's funny, you know what I mean? You can watch the train fall off the track sometimes, depending on how your bet goes.
I gotta get deeper. I'm just like a puck line, money line guy, and I'll do the over under. I gotta get a little bit deeper on that type of stuff.
Listen to Scott there. Take those first period advice.
Well, that's what was interesting too. Just to hear Scott say, for the beginners like myself, the money line's kind of where it's at. Where I've seemingly lapped money line and just gone all kinds of props that I find interesting. I love player props, shot props. I've got Sagan to get over 2.5 shots again today. I love that shit. It's fun.
You have Sagan today? What do I have? I went on a run last week when there were still 3-4 games a day. We're over a 3-day span. I was something like 12-4. I was hitting those shot props at a just ridiculous rate. And basically all you do is go look at their game logs and you can see if a guy is plus 120 to get over 2.5 shots and you look and he's done it in 7 out of 8 games so far these playoffs, Like, that's a lock. Like, you make that bet every day because they're giving you plus 120 on that, and he does it more than 50% of the time. But
well,
today,
that's like I was telling you before we started recording. I was bummed that the Blues got knocked out because Perron was always like minus 110 or something at over 2.5 shots, and he hit it for me every single night.
And especially guys that play on the
Milk,
power
you're
play
so
as well.
deep into this. I love it.
I've been watching because I've been doing a lot of social for Around the Network, so I'm watching games that maybe I necessarily wouldn't watch normally, I guess, and it's just added a layer of fun for me. And the player shots are just like Tyler said, I love the player shots.
I got Matt Barzal today, plus 135 to get over 2.5 shots. Like, he plays on the power play as well, right? So if they go on a run of getting like 3 power plays in this game, you're asking him to get a couple shots there, one at even strength, and bang, your bet hits, and it's a good odds too at plus 135. I also have Miro Heiskanen's one. He's been doing over 2.5 shots in pretty much every game he's played in.
Sleep.
Yeah, like I'm pulling up his game log right now, but the odds on it were minus 118, so pretty good, like pretty close to even money. And his last 5 games, he's done it in 3 out of 5 of them. Like
it's just fun. Like
even the
you
ones
look
he
at that
missed, he only
too,
had
but
2.
It's funny though because like you look at games that pass, and you're like, okay, this guy generally fires a lot of pucks.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm going to take the over at 2.5 or whatever. And then just sometimes it just doesn't happen. Like there was the last game against Calgary where they won, Dallas against Calgary. It was like 4-2 Calgary or something like that. I had bet on Seguin to hit over 2.5 shots again, and he didn't, but he hit like 4 posts. It was just kind of one of those like, shit, with a little luck I would have made some money, but otherwise, that's how the cookie crumbles every now and then.
Yeah,
I'm looking at my sports book. There's an interesting prop bet that pays out all the money in the world. If Nazem Kadri and Jonas Donskoy both score 3 or more goals, it will pay 251 to 1.
How did they pick that combination of players? Like, what is Jonas Donskoy doing there?
And that's one thing, like, I haven't got into the parlays or anything yet. Like, I can see myself really falling off the rails when I get into those.
Oh, when you can, like, it's like a Saturday and you want to build up, like, a 12-bet parlay that pays, like, $5 into, like, $8K.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I can see it coming. I can see it coming down the horizon.
I've really been enjoying, actually, just parlaying the overs in the hockey games. Just over, and it's usually, like, 3-4 to 1. Gives you something to cheer for. Okay.
Yeah.
We're getting towards the end of the podcast here, but as we do.
Previously on Big Brother.
The Nicole Janelle beef is hilarious to me.
Yeah, I loved it too. It was hysterical.
I was surprised Nicole actually said what she said, because normally she's pretty quiet when it comes to stuff like that and doesn't like drama. And then Janelle was like, "Ooh, I like confrontation." And then I don't know if what she did was necessarily confrontation. She just kind of spewed a couple words and walked away.
She threw a grenade in the. She kind of threw a grenade in the room a little bit.
Ish, right? Yeah, it was kind of weird. But I'm just upset because my boy Kaser he's in trouble.
Yeah,
he's in trouble. But
I was a little bit surprised, to be honest, that Tyler took that big of a swing.
I'm not, because the whole house is thinking it, right? The whole house is afraid. So I guess this is where I never saw those Janelle series and stuff. So I hope this season, this week's got some fireworks to it, and one of them can get themselves off the block, and then someone else can go on, and somehow they can sway and send that person home. That's what I'm kind of hoping for. So I'm just worried about my boy Kaser. I like the real chat he had with Tyler. I think a lot of respect was gained there, so hopefully that goes a long way. But scary week for my boy.
I actually think that Kaser's relationship with Janelle, and obviously they've got a bestie vibe going on from their time together in previous seasons. I actually think that's hurting him right now.
It is.
Well, of course.
I think that he should try to because I love Kaser too, Jay. We were gonna put a Windicate bet on Kaser.
Mm-hmm.
I think he needs to put some distance there.
Unfortunately, he does, but he should have been. Yeah, they should have mobilized a lot faster. They kind of sat back. They should have created their own alliance to combat the other half of the house. But a lot of Davon now is causing some is raising some alarm bells with the alliance. So maybe if Kaser and Janelle can pick up on that and try to like add fire or add some more gas to that fire, and maybe make Devon seem like a risk. I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting week. I just hope it's something. I hope, like I said, I hope one of them wins veto and there's at least some like action, and it's not just gonna be like this whole hum week where a big swing was took and it just kind of just went as planned, and now we're on to the next week.
Yeah, that veto comp's gonna be good too.
Veto comp's gonna be great. But you know what I like? So Nicole threw that shot at Janelle, like a public one, which was fine. And that was fun because I love the drama. That's what I'm there for. But I like the way Danny is poking the bear behind the scenes a little bit.
Oh yeah, you gotta watch. So Danny's I'm pulling for her too because she gets it.
She's just quietly you know what? It's just little pokes, little jabs every now and then. And then
suggestions, right? Suggestions of down planting seed. Everyone's woke, so it's easy to do. Like, she's manipulating in there. Like, she ain't stupid. Like, she knows what she's doing. So, yeah, because Tyler's all stressed out about Devon because Devon was asking to be chosen should someone win, and she's leveraging that to create a bunch of doubt.
Yeah,
which is it's masterful. So hopefully she can just. Like, as long as you can do that stuff and keep a level head, you're fine.
Yeah, that was a vet move by her on that one.
Very vet move, and she went far. You know, she's gone far. She knows how to play this game, so she's one that's gonna, I think, behind the scenes, gonna be pulling some levers. Like really what a meow meow type should be doing. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, I finally got to hear him say it last night.
Oh, I love him, meow meow.
He's good.
The best.
He's my favorite.
I just want him to stay, just because, like I said, like. Just how he explains stuff, and he's just a hoot. Like, he's just entertaining.
The whole bit with him in the bidet was so good.
Hey, yeah, like that was a new experience.
Yeah,
that was a new experience for him. I liked it a lot.
Go ahead.
The last area I wanted to touch on Big Brother, like, I just want to say David is not good at this game.
Oh,
he's really not. Like,
he's
socially,
really bad.
man, he always says the wrong thing, like, consistently.
Yeah, he is bad. He's really bad at it.
He's sketched out Devon, and then after him not getting nominated, he just said he crushed this week. I was like, you've done nothing, dude.
Yeah, he was like, I'm feeling like I'm crushing it right now. And it's like, you lost a big veto, failed to really get yourself into any solid form of alliance here. And, like, that's not crushing it, man. You need to win something.
Would you make it? He's absolutely floaty, which makes it really interesting that Chalmers picked him as his horse in Big Brother All-Stars.
Yeah, it's a shame. Chalmers really needs to come forward and explain himself there.
He's just like, before the season started, he's like, I really like the look of this David guy, and I think that his second chance is going to be his best opportunity. And then all of a sudden, David's just not doing very well. Chalmers just nowhere to defend the choice.
Well, look how he loses competition. Like, holy cow! Like, that veto. Like, what were you doing, dude?
Yeah, I don't know.
Chalmers is still in the middle. Like, a one and done takes some time to get done. So he's still in the midst of it. So if he not legally, but if he can avoid the authorities in this, we'll welcome him back. So it's got to be soon. I think he said it was a 3-week one and done.
I feel like
can't wait to hear him defend this choice. To be honest,
it'll be great. There's a lot of stuff I wanted to get to today that I didn't get to. One of them was the Jesse Puljujärvi thing. Congratulations, Jay. You're this podcast's insider.
Well, you know, I travel over to Finland. I've opened up some back channels between Edmonton and there, and there is a flow of information that if I get anything newsworthy, I will share with our amazing community. So thank you, Tyler, for acknowledging that. That was a lot of vodka drinking and reindeer meatball eating finally paying off.
That's how the best deals come together, though, don't they? Reindeer meatballs and vodka.
Well, in Finland, that's the only way. And sauna. Sorry, a lot of sauna. So a lot of nudity, a lot of reindeer meatballs, a lot of vodka, or Mr. Belvedere, as they like to call it, and just a lot of laughs and trust. I left Finland with a bridge of trust.
So that was a few months ago now that you kind of said that the window was open, Jay. And it's interesting. It's interesting to see that, you know, as it's progressed, the window opened further and further. Now it seems like he's actually going to come back.
I think that's good for both sides. Honestly, it's a bet. It's a bet for both sides worth making. So if it doesn't work, I believe there's like a gentleman's agreement that they'll try to trade him. But like, give it a shot, dude. Like, hopefully, it seems like he's matured a little bit. Hopefully, we as an organization have matured a little bit with the treating of him. Because like that guy could be 97 shooter, man. Like that's if you win that job, your NHL career is set.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, very least, he has an opportunity to provide the Oilers with some value and some depth scoring that they desperately need. It's a perfect fit.
100%. It only helps. Like, and we didn't have to go out and, we're probably going to get him for a good deal, right? Like in terms of like around $1 million. That's what we're hearing.
Yeah, roughly.
Right. So that's more. It frees up more money, for Ekman-Larsson and the 9,000 first round picks we're going to give up. But it helps the team, and so that way, if it's priced that way, I think there can only really be upside, and if there's downside, it didn't kill us.
Yeah,
100%.
And I know he said this before already, but like, shout out to Uncle Ken for just sitting this one out, because 1,000% that if this was Pistol Pete, he would have flipped him for like a 5th round pick or something. Whereas Ken Holland's just like, nope, I don't got the offer I want. I'm just going to sit on it, go to Finland, play some good hockey, get your confidence back. Let's talk about it later.
Well, that's the thing. So if they can do that, if he can pull another move and get Athanasio to sign for a lesser deal on a show me type contract, and we can just get some kind of decent output from these guys, like. If we get some offensive output for those two guys with the current top 6 that we have, and they kind of move around in that, like that's a huge help. Then it's just really just shoring up our defense and whoever our second goalie is going to be. Like,
an interesting offseason.
It might make the job a little bit easier, at least give us a little bit more wiggle room to try to make some moves to address that.
It'll be, yeah. And you know what? We talked about Josh Park earlier in the podcast. We're going to bring him in this coming up on Thursday here to the pod. And I'm excited for his takes on the Oilers. So maybe Thursday I'll come up with like a solid list of like 10 Oilers topics, and we can just have a good old fashioned roster debate on the team. I like that picture of the two of you standing on the truck talking about it like in the good old days. That's what we'll try to do Thursday.
Well, Josh and I, every Friday, we go around and shoot the Oodle Noodle videos. So a large portion of that day means going to see Sonny, going to shoot a video. It involves normally going to eat a donair, and we're always talking about hockey. And it also turns out he likes Big Brother, so he'll be a nice. He'll slide right in nicely with us on Thursday.
Yeah, I like it. That'll be sick. All right, that's what's coming up on Thursday's episode. As always, we are brought to you by the fine folks at Japa Machinery. Check them out online. Check them out on the socials. They're always posting cool pictures of some big equipment. They are your spot for heavy-duty machinery. That's Japa Machinery. And also, go check out OddsShark. If you want to lay down some money on your sportsbook, you need to go to OddsShark first. Make sure you're getting all that good information. Shout out to Scott Hastings. Shout out to the two of you for sticking around as well. Shout out to Wanye. And shout out to everyone listening to the Real Life Podcast. Episode 207 is over.
Great job on making it through the entire hour of the Real Life Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast from.